The room at Quantico was filled with men and women who have spent their lives not just carrying rifles, but carrying the burden of thought. They've studied Sun Tzu, who warned that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. They know that lethality without restraint is not strategy, it is butchery. They have wrestled with Clausewitz, who declared that war is the continuation of politics by other means, a truth that demands clarity of purpose before the first shot is ever fired. They have waded through Thucydides's grim lesson that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must, and they have vowed to be better than that cynicism by choosing law and restraint over barbarism. They've read Grant, who wrote of the Civil War that the art of war is simple enough. Find out where your enemy is, get at him as soon as you can, strike him as hard as you can, and keep moving. But even Grant, bloody and relentless, knew victory meant binding the wounds of a nation, not gloating in violence. The point is this. These generals live by philosophies that understand war as the most consequential of human actions. Their decisions have carried lives in the balance. They know that raw violence is a tool only to be used with precision, with justification, and with the dignity of restraint. They know that war has consequences that echo for generations. Pete Hegseth does not know this. He is a little boy with a big mouth, waving around the strength of older siblings he has never had to become himself. He mistakes slogans for wisdom, violence for professionalism, and brute force for strategy. He preaches lethality like a child who's never had to carry the ghost of the battlefield home with him. He sees the military as a weapon to be swung, not a burden to be borne. And the truth is that the United States military is the most powerful force on earth, not because it is the most violent, but because it has chosen discipline over chaos, professionalism over cruelty. We've set the standards for ethics, for rules of engagement, for what it means to fight with dignity. We may not always agree with the wars our leaders order, but our service personnel carry themselves with pride and decorum. There are ghosts, yes. There always are. But there is also pride in knowing that we do not wage war like a third-rate regime. If we abandon the Geneva Conventions, if we reduce ourselves to brutality and call it strength, then the world will follow us into the pit. Other nations will cast off restraint, and humanity will slide backwards into darkness. And the final truth is that the United States is not under existential threat. We are not besieged. We are not Rome sacked by barbarians. There is no justification for turning the most disciplined and capable force on earth into a bludgeon of political vengeance. Only a child would ask for that. Only a fool would think of that as strength. So let us name what they said at Quantico and why those words matter, and why they make him look small. He called for a tearing down of guardrails. He mocked standards and promised to strip away the legal and moral constraints that keep a professional force professional. He spoke of renaming the institution as if a new placard could remake history. He derided internal checks and inspector processes as weaponized complaints. He argued for higher, male-based fitness standards, as if physical benchmarks alone made wisdom and judgment irrelevant. And he flirted with the idea of loosing our forces to act with fewer restraints on foreign battlefields, and chillingly also here at home. Those are not abstract reforms. They are seismic changes to the contract between the soldier and the state. And these words make him look small because every officer in that room has seen what happens when those guardrails go away. They've watched insurgencies grow out of careless violence. They've read the reports that it turned into viral recruitment videos for radicals. They've knelt beside cots where names are written on slips of paper and learned that nothing erases a family's grief except truth and restraint and accountability. When Hegseth promises to loosen the leashes, the generals hear not courage, but the appetite of chaos. Not clarity, but impetuousness. They know the arithmetic of consequence. For every enemy struck without care, there are 10 who will rise in hatred, and 50 children who will remember the smoke. His rhetoric seeks applause. It seeks the horny little rush of spectacle where a man can feel large on a podium. He is pleading for a patent moment, a single frame to hang on a wall, without the patience to earn it. That is the counterfeit of leadership. Real leaders sit at maps at 3 a.m. and argue with lawyers about the rules of engagement because they know those rules keep the republic sane. They rise and sleep with the calculus of loss in their mouths, and they do not monetize war on cable to sell a goddamn book. The scandalous irony is that the enemies we faced across deserts and mountains were often brutal and reckless. They lacked our care and our discipline, our doctrine and our adherence to some shred of law. They fought dirty because they had no better answer. And we outperformed them precisely because we did not mirror their methods. We won because we were better. We were better organized, more disciplined, and more crucially restrained when necessary. To adopt their cruelty is not to become stronger, it is to become smaller than what we claim to be. So call him what you will. An airman who traded a uniform for a TV, a weekend soldier who dreams in headlines, a man with a law degree who believes paper alone confers wisdom. He wants the thunder without the ledger, the graveyard of applause without the graves. The generals did not need to say this out loud. Their silence said it for them. That a man who never carried the full weight of command could not stand before those who have and lecture them on sacrifice. And if we let this moment pass as a spectacle, as theater for the hungry and the proud, then we will have accepted a dangerous proposition. That performance is a substitute for prudence, and that slogans can replace study, and that cruelty is a kind of courage. But if we remember the books those men carried, if we honor the restraint that kept our forces human, then we will understand the true cost of this folly and refuse to pay it. Pete wants thunder, so he stands beneath flags and bangs a drum until his palms bleed, and he thinks this noise is command, but noise is cheap. And the generals at Quantico know the price of silence and the price of sound. He will buy this platform with other people's reverence and rents a language of sacrifice to sell a show. He trades in medals like props and cues as lines to cameras and then wonders why the room will not clap. It's because that is not courage. It's commerce. Defiance till death.